Hello students, today we are going to read from what is adaptive radiation. What is the meaning of adaptive radiation? Adaptive radiation means what? They are start from a single point. Single point means a single offspring, and due to the adaptation they develop different characteristics or traits, and when they develop different characteristics or trait according to adaptation, so they form different species, right? So from single point means from a single individual ancestor, if many individuals, different type of or different species are formed or different type of individuals are formed, that is called on the basis of adaptation. Adaptation means on the basis of their habitat. So this one is called as adaptive radiation, right? When we consider the adaptive radiation, so it shows the divergent evolution, right? We can say this adaptive radiation is divergent evolution. What is given here? During his journey, Darwin went to Galapagos Island. Okay, we know very well Darwin. What is the ship name of this Darwin? It is called HMS Beagle, right? So HMS Beagle, this he means travel in whole world, right? Means he start from his journey from South America to South Africa, from South Africa to Australia, Australia to Galapagos Island. He reached the Galapagos Island. Do you understand? And here, Galapagos Island, which is made up of small different islands, it is 22, near about 22 islands are there. Group of 22 islands are there, and each island he observed that a different type of finch, a different type of finches is there. This time we set them Darwin finches, right? There he observed an amazing diversity of creatures. Diversity of creatures. What is there? Of particular interest, small black birds. That latter called is Darwin finches amazed him. What is why he amazed him? Because different type of a different traits are observed in a single bird. He realized that there were many. You can see here also varieties of finches in the same island. Same island means Galapagos Island, right? Varieties of finches in the same island, because this island is made up of this Galapagos Island. It is made up of more than 22 or near about 22 islands, right? In each island, a different type of finches is there. And overall, when we consider, so different varieties of finches are present in our Galapagos Island. Why it is there? All the varieties he conjectured evolved in the island itself. First thing, from the original seed eating. What is the here original? Original means it is seed eating. Original is seed eating habitat. Is seed eating feature is there? That is given. Original seed eating feature. Many other forms which altered beak arrows. Why altered beak arrows? Because in their specific habitat, according to the availability of food, which type of food is present, their beaks is changed, right? So this different type of beaks are arise from the single means original seed eating beaks. That's why it is called divergent, right? Enabling them to become insectivorous. Some becomes insectivorous, where seed are less but insects are more, and vegetarian finches. Some eats vegetarian finches. This process of evolution of different species. Look here, now they are becoming different species in a given geographical areas. Given means a single isolated geographical area, either it is Australia or it is a Galapagos Island. Starting from a point means starting from a single ancestor and literally radiating to other areas of geographic, that is habitats, each called adaptive radiation. According to habitat, according to geography, they form some specific traits and they convert into a specific species or subspecies, which they becomes different from their ancestor. That one is called adaptive radiation. Do you understand? Darwin finches represents one of the best example of this phenomena. This phenomenon is what? Adaptive radiation phenomena. Another example is Australian marsupials. Australian marsupials, you know, mammals. Mammals are further divided into three subclasses, that is Prototheria, Metatheria, and Eutheria. So marsupials means they come into the Metatheria, right? So they are marsupials here. Australian marsupial means like kangaroo. A number of marsupials, each different form. They are different type of marsupials from the other, evolved from an ancestor stock. They are evolved from a single ancestor, a single type of ancestor, and according to the habitat, because Australia, we know Australia is very big area, right? But it is isolated. Why it is called isolated? Because we know when continental drift happens, then this Australia. Initially, what happens? Initially, Australia is it is a part of Asia. It is connected with Asia. But after what happens when continental drift happens? Then what happens? Australia separates from the Asia. When Australia separates from the Asia, at that time marsupials are present in Australia. So they survive in Australia. But the marsupials which are present in Asia, they are eaten by or they are killed by mammals, right? That's why in Asia marsupials are absent, but in Australia marsupials they develop, right? So in Australia what happens? They develop from a single ancestor and different type of marsupials are evolved. That is the example of adaptive radiation. According to adaptation, different type of marsupials are evolved from a single ancestor in an isolated area. That is called adaptive radiation. And adaptive radiation means it is also called as adaptive divergent radiation, right? But all within the Australia island continent, all within the Australia continent, that is it is called as isolated area. When more than one adaptive radiation, right? More than one adaptive radiation is present in a single isolated areas. When more than one adaptive radiation, now you understand, adaptive radiation is for only one species or only one group of animal, right? But when we compare two different groups, that is given if more than one adaptive radiation is present in same or in an isolated area, then this one is called as convergent, right? Here it is given here. Okay, you can see here. When more than one adaptive radiation appear to have occurred in an isolated geographical area, as for example in Australia, mammals are also evolved, primitive mammals we can say. So mammals are evolved and marsupials are also evolved. Both evolved from different ancestors, both evolved from different group of animals, but they have same structures. They have same structures according to adaptation, because same habitat, so same structure is developed, but their origin is different, right? That means what we are comparing the two different group of animals, one mammal and one marsupial. Both shows adaptive radiation, right? But because they have same type of organs, or when we see them, they are phenotypically look like same. That is called convergent evolution. Okay, here in this figure you understand one single. Here you can see this one is our single marsupial area. So from a single, this is the single point. We can say a single point or single ancestor. From this single point, what happens? Different type of marsupials are formed. You have to read all these names. What are the marsupials? These are adaptive radiation of marsupials of Australia. Kangaroo, everyone know this type. Kangaroo. Australia is also famous for kangaroo because kangaroo is present only in Australia, right? Wombat, bandicoot, koala, right? When forest fire, this last year, forest fire happens in Australia. That time we had this type of animals: bandicoot, koala, marsupial, moles, right? So their structure is same as to mammals also. Sugar glider, Tasmania wolf, tiger cat, banded ant eater, marsupial rat. Marsupial rat like to mammal rat, but something different. Which different means they are not placental. Placental means mammals are there. So this means it shows radiation. Radiation means from a single point, origin from a single point, and different species are formed according to their habitat or according to their environment, right? So adaptation, different type of species are formed. That one is called adaptive radiation, right? Here What is given here? Different habitats. Different habitats, look here, that is when more than one adaptive radiation appeared. More than one means one adaptive radiation from marsupial radiation and another one is mammal radiation appear to have occurred in an isolated geographical area. Isolated geographical area means Australia, representing different habitats. In Australia means what happens? Different habitats are there because it is a very large continent, right? One can call this convergent evolution. One can call this convergent. What do you mean by convergent evolution? If different adaptive radiation, it means which originate from different ancestor, one from marsupials and the from mammals. But when we compare them, they shows the same phenotype. Phenotype is according to their adaptation. So that because their same type of evolution, same type of phenotype, means same type of traits are obtained or grow, or same type of means we can say same type of traits organs are developed. So it is called as convergent, right? One can call this convergent evolution. Placental mammal in Australia also exhibits adaptive radiation in evolving into varieties of such placental mammals, right? Each of which appear to be similar to a correspondence. What is given here? Similar, right? Do you understand similar means what? Look, radiation. That one can call this convergent evolution. Okay, placental mammal in Australia also exhibit adaptive radiation in evolving into varieties of such placental mammals, each of which appear to be similar. What is given here? Similar. That is important because similar. That's why we said them convergent, right? To a corresponding marsupials. They have similarity. Placental wolf and Tasmanian wolf. Placental wolf means mammal and Tasmanian wolf means marsupial, right? So they have, okay, some examples is given also. You can see here, right? Placental mammal this side, mole, that is marsupial mole. Both have same. Okay, some difference means this tail is long, this tail is short. That is not one. But their maximum, their phenotype is their when we see them, they look like similar to one another. Anteater here, numbat anteater, mouse, marsupial mouse, lemur, spotted cuscus, flying squirrel, that is our flying phalanger, bobcat, Tasmanian tiger cat, and wolf, this one is Tasmanian wolf. So they show similarity, means they have a similar, that is flying squirrel, flying phalanger, because their phenotype is same, their external features or their morphology is same, right? We can say this one is convergent evolution because their means origin is from different group. Picture showing convergent evolution of Australian marsupials and placental mammals. So I think you understand what is the difference between the adaptive radiation and convergent evolution. Adaptive radiation means a single, they originate from a single point. There is no comparison between two different groups, only a single group. As for example, marsupial. All the marsupial, they were from a same ancestor. All the marsupial, different marsupials are formed, that is called radiation. And when we compare two adaptive radiation in a single isolated areas, then we understand that mammal and that is the marsupials, they show similarities among each other. They have similarity among each other. That's why they are called as convergent evolution, right? Okay, now here second thing is given, very important. The essence of Darwin theory about evolution is natural selection. Darwin means what? Darwin always tell about the natural selection. Natural selection. The main conceptual key of Darwin is natural selection and branching descents. Right? The essence of Darwinian theory about evolution is natural selection. The rate of appearance of new forms is linked to the life cycle or the lifespan. Appearance of new forms. Appearance of new forms means all the new forms when come in offspring, new forms will come. It is depend upon the lifespan. What is the lifespan? And it is also explained here because bacterial life is very small. As for example, when we consider the E. coli, Escherichia coli, its lifespan is only 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, what happens? A replicate and offspring will come. But when we consider ourselves, our average lifespan is 60 or 60 years, maybe 50, actually 55 years. Yeah? So if you consider 60 years, then 60 years means lifespan is more. Now new offspring will come after 60 years. Not after 60 years, okay, new offspring will come and after 20 years. But 20 years, that is given here. The rate of appearance of new forms, new offspring, is linked to the life cycle or the lifespan. What is the life? Microbes that divide fast have the ability to multiply and become millions of individuals within hours. Within hours, right? A colony of bacteria, say A, growing in on a given medium has built-in variation in terms of ability to utilize a feed component. It is totally dependent. If we provide them nutrients, then what happens? Exponential growth. They shows exponential growth. They can grow very fast, right? A change. Suppose that here, say A, we have two colonies. One is called say A, that is A, and another one is B. A change in the medium, if we change, it slightly change or mega change we made in a medium composition would bring out only that part of the population that is called say B that can survive under the new conditions. Now only the bacteria which can survive in the new culture, they can survive, they can reproduce, but other who cannot adopt itself according to the culture, according to the environment, he can die. Simply it is given here. Only B. B means what happened? So who survive? Only B can survive because it can reproduce in the altered medium, in a different medium. It can survive. Here what happens? Who can survive? This one is called natural selected. Right? Here, in due course of time, this variant population. Okay, you understand what I? Okay, not. In due course of time, this variant population outgrows the other and appears as new species. In due course of time is after some time. For bacteria, not more time, but for human or other large animals, it may be million of years, right? So due course of time, what happens? Variant of population outgrows the other and appearing new species, and new species is formed. This would happen within days in case of bacteria, microbes, right? For the same thing to happen in a fish or a fowl. Now we are considering the fish or fowl, right? Here. For the same thing to happen in a fish or fowl, because fish or fowl, its lifespan is more than bacteria. Then what happens? Million of years, as lifespan of these animals are years. So million of years take place for the formation of new species. Here we say that fitness of B is better than fitness of A under the new condition. Who is the fittest? Because Darwin said survival of the fittest. So here who is the fittest one? That is B is fittest because it can survive in new medium. A is not fit or A is not selected. A is rejected by nature because it cannot survive in new medium. Right? Nature selected for fitness. That is called survival of the fittest or natural selection. One must remember that so-called fitness is based on the characteristics which are inherited. Fitness means mainly for Darwin, it is reproductive fitness. Which reproductive means the characteristics which are inherited in new offspring and which are responsible for the adaptation. Simply you can say, hence there must be genetic basis for getting selected and to evolve. What is their genetic basis? Genetic basis for whom? For getting selected by nature and then to evolve. Evolve means to means a new species or for survive. Another way of saying the same thing is that some organisms are better adapted to survive in an otherwise hostile environment. Some they are better than another, right? As for example here, B is better than A. Adaptive ability is inherited. Adaptive means adaptation because here B adapt itself according to the new surroundings or new medium, right? So this adaptivity or this adaptive process or adaptation is inherited means it is passed to new offspring or new generation. It has a genetic basis. That's why it is called genetic basis, right? Fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt. What is here? Your fitness. Fitness means what? It is the end result of the ability to survive or ability to adapt. and get selected by the nature. Do you understand what is fitness? Fitness is the end result of ability to adapt, and if adapt means it can survive, and this it is get selected by the nature. That is called natural selection. You understand? Now here, branching descent, these are two key concepts, and natural selection. Branching descent. Branching descent means what? Descent means what? Offsprings. When a new offspring comes through, simply we understand, when a new offspring comes, it has modified, means it has some new genes. It has some new variations. And we know very well, variation means what happens? These small variations, according to Darwin, these small variations, they accumulated, right? Slowly, after million of years, what happens? When this accumulation becomes very large, then what happens? A new species is formed, right? That is called branching descent. Means here different branch arise. So that means what? Because variation is different variation is present in different offsprings. Then what happens? Some offspring develop into a different branch, some offspring develop into a different branch. As for example, in case of human evolution, we read human evolution means it start from where? Okay, when we start from proconsuls, then Dryopithecus, then Ramapithecus, Simiapithecus, Keniapithecus, then ape man fossil comes. Dryopithecus goes to in the evolution of that type gorilla or ape-like structures. Ramapithecus, it is more man-like. It developed in another branch into a human-like. That is called branching descent, right? And natural selection is, okay, when different variations found different species, then what happens? Some are adapt itself according to nature. That means they can survive better than other. If they can survive, that is called survival of the fittest. And survival of the fittest means what? They are simply, we can say, selected by the nature. So branching descent and natural selection are the two key concepts of Darwinian theory. Here you understand, fitness means what? Fitness means where for Darwin, according to Darwin, it is reproductive fitness, right? Figure is given here. Even before Darwin, now once who? A French naturalist, Lamarck. Now I tell you about the Lamarck. We need not to go very deep for Lamarck. The full name of Lamarck is Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, right? So Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, he wrote a book, and this book name is Philosophic Zoology. This Zoologic, Q-U-A, Philosophic Zoology. This book is written by whom? Lamarck, Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, right? So Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, actually Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, he wrote this book in 1809. He wrote this book in 1809, and this 1809, it is the year when the Darwin born. So date of birth, we can say DOB, the date of birth of Darwin is also same, 1809, and the book which is published by the Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck, the year is same, 1809, right? So when we consider the Lamarck, it is called Lamarckism, right? So Lamarckism is he first said that here four principles are there, right? So what is the four principles of Lamarckism? So first principle is internal vital forces. I write here, you can first is here internal vital forces, right? CES, forces, right? What is the meaning of internal vital forces? First concept of first principle here, it means in any organisms, all the cells or tissue, we can say, right, they have a tendency to grow, right? They have a tendency to grow. Second thing, what is here? So, tendency to grow, right? Second means what? Effect. He said effect of environment, right? Second is effect of environment. Effect of environment. Effect of environment. Environment means due to the effect of environment, there we have some new needs also here, right? That means he also understand effect of environment means look, mammals, dolphins are also mammals, whales are also mammals, because environment is aquatic environment, so they develop according to their needs. Develop according to their needs, their legs, they have no limbs, but they have fin-like structures. They are adapt to the aquatic medium. Bat, they are also mammals, but they adapt according to the aerial, means we can say aerial means mode of life, right? Effect of environment, he also said that today also we can see like polar bear, it is white in color, but in our that is equator bear, black in color. Humans also in Canada or in hill region, they have different type of we can say they are mongoloids, right? But we are Caucasides. So these differences come from effect of environments, and means development of different organs, it is due to the needs, right? So first is internal vital forces, second effect of environment and needs. Third one is here use and disuse, not misuse, right? The third one is your use and disuse of organ or tissue, means we can say use and disuse. Here he said disuse, USE, right? Disuse. He said if we use our, that is the organ which is used by the organism, it develops. But organs which is not used by the organisms, slowly what happens, it degenerate and convert into vestigial organs, he said. And also he proved, as for example in human body, in our body, ear pinna, we need not to move our ears because we have hands. But in cows, they have ear pinna muscles, that is pinna muscles, they are active. Why they are active? They are not vestigial, but in our case it is vestigial because we have hand, we can throw up the mosquito or flies, but they cannot, they use their ears. So that means here ear, that second one is our that is our nictitating membranes, wisdom teeth or this canine teeth. So because many vestigial organ is used, it is the example of use and disuse of organs. Python means here pectoral girdle and pelvic girdles are present. They are also vestigial in Python because they have no legs. That means what, they never use these organs, and slowly what happens, it is degenerate and convert into vestigial organs. And fourth principle is, it is inheritance of the acquired characters. Inheritance of acquired ACU, right? Acquired characters. These are the four principles of Lamarckism, right? Which one? Internal vital forces, effect of environment and their needs, use and disuse of organs, and inheritance of acquired character. He said, that means here, acquired means after birth, that means characters or traits which the animal acquired from their environmental effect or from use and disuse, right? It is inherited in the offsprings. That's why today we have also vestigial organs, because they are inherited, and they shows our use or disuse of the specific organs, right? So these are Lamarckism. He write this book, Philosophic Zoology. Okay, read into the NCERT what is given here. Even before Darwin, because we know, I tell you, Lamarck, he wrote his book in 1809, and 1809 what happens? This Darwin born. Even before Darwin, a French naturalist, it is a naturalist, French, Lamarck had said that evolution of life form had occurred but driven by use and disuse of organs. If we use organs, so these organs develop. If we not use the organs, that organs they degenerate and convert into vestigial organs, right? He gave the example of giraffe who in an attempt to forage leaves on tall trees had to adapt by elongation to their necks. And as they passed on this acquired character, because they used their forelegs and their neck region, so their forelegs and their neck region, it increased in size, right? And it becomes strong, right? And this passes on this acquired character. Acquired character means this increased forelimbs and neck region are of elongated neck, and succeeding generation, coming generation, giraffe slowly over the years came to acquire long necks and long forelegs, right? Nobody believed this conjecture anymore. Why? Why nobody believe this conjecture anymore? Because many exceptions are there, right? As for example, Weizmann. Weizmann is scientist. He cut that rat's mice tail, 21 generation. He cut that. But in 21 generation, when he measure the tail, it is a single millimeter is not decreased. The tail is not decreased a single millimeter. Simply another example is in our Hindu tradition. What happens? The women's, they puncture their because they wear jewelries, puncture their eyes or nose. But this time also, newborn girl baby or baby, they have no punctured ear or nose, right? That means in China means what happens? These girls this time they use a very short shoes in their legs because their legs are in the ratio it is bigger than so they want. But what happens? This adaptation is not coming in their legs. So these are some examples who that means who remove this, means we can say who wrong or who reject or who refuse this Lamarckism, right? Weizmann gives the protoplasmic theory. Actually, he said protoplasm is the basis. Actually, Weizmann reject this one, right? Lamarckism, because he said every organisms they have two types of protoplasm. One is called as somatoplasm, and another one is called germplasm. Somatoplasm means it is that is somatic cells. It is present in somatic cells. If mutation occurs into the somatic cell or variation come into the somatic cell, they cannot be inherited into the next generation. But if the variation or mutation is present in the germplasm, they can inherit. Only germplasm mutation can inherit. This is said by, so that means what? Protoplasm is the base of life. It is also said by Weizmann, right? So protoplasm theory is given by Weizmann, and Weizmann rejects this Lamarckism, right? That's why nobody believes this conjecture anymore. Is evolution a process or the result of processes? That is a question. Evolution is a process or it is a result of process? Okay, that means we have no accurate answer is not there. The world we see in animate and animate is only the success story of evolution, right? When we describe the story of this world, we describe the evolution as a process. When we describe the story of this world, what is given here? When we describe the story of this world, then we are describing we describe the story of this world means earth world. We describe the evolution as a process. Evolution is a process, simply process. A gradual process is called evolution, simply we define it also. On the other hand, when we describe the story of life on earth, second thing, life. Look here, inanimate. Inanimate means without life. That means story of this world. Animate means when we are describe the story of life on earth, we treat evolution as a consequence of a process called natural selection. Because today the animals which are present today, they are selected by the nature, or because they prove them fittest, right? That's why they are surviving. So this process is called a natural selection. We are still not very clear. It is given also here. We are still not very clear, right? Whether to regard evolution and natural selection as processes, or they are the end result of unknown processes. They are the process or they are the result of unknown process. Because what is the faith of evolution? We don't know. Unknown processes. They are the result of, today all the species, they are result of unknown processes, right? And this is, we can say, evolution. Evolution in human means today human is formed. It is the result of unknown processes. Simply because future means we cannot know participants. Or we can say it, we are selected by nature. Selected by nature means we are naturally selected. Okay, now here. Next point. It is possible that the work of Thomas Malthus, what is given here? Thomas Malthus on population influenced the Darwin. Now here question is there, who influenced the Darwin? Actually Darwin was influenced by two books. I write here, you understand. Darwin. So Darwin was influenced by two books. Which books? One is written by Thomas Malthus. Thomas Malthus, what is given? On population. So what is given? He wrote a book that is Principle of Population. Of population. It is written by Thomas Malthus. Right? One book. And second book is our here Principle of, it is Principle of Geology. Really, right? Principle of Geology, Geology, and it is written by Charles Lyell. Who is there? Charles Lyell. Lyell, Lyell, right? These two books influenced the who? Darwin, right? And another scientist name is also given here in our book. That is where I think it is not given here. In next, okay, it is given in not this time, but it is also given in previous, and that is Alfred Wallace. Previous point or previous lecture I tell you here, right? Alfred Wallace. It is not given here, but you have to remind this one. Alfred Wallace. Alfred Wallace full name is Alfred Lyell Wallace, right? It is who work in Malay Archipelago, right? Where? Malay Archipelago, which is a group of islands, right? He worked. So, but his essay, he sent a essay, right? Malay Archipelago. So these scientists, they influenced the Darwin. Who? First, Thomas Malthus, which is given here. Thomas Malthus on population influenced Darwin. Natural selection is based on certain observations, which are factual. For example, is given natural resources are limited. Natural resources are limited, right? Populations are stable in size except for seasonal fluctuation. So population is totally constant, right? Lag phase, then log phase, and then it becomes constant, right? Because sources are limited. Members of a population vary in characteristics. In fact, no two individuals are alike. Today we also know no two individuals, no two humans or no two brothers and sisters are not alike, right? Even though they look superficially similar, most variations are inherited extra. And the fact that theoretically population size will grow exponentially. Exponentially means it is geometric growth. When does the exponential growth? When the resources are present abundantly, right? Then they grow exponentially. But what happens when limited? When the natural source is limited, then what happens? It becomes constant. If everybody reproduce maximally, right? That means growth is exponentially. This fact can be seen in growing bacterial population, right? And the fact that population size is real, in reality it is limited. Why it is limited? Due to the limited resources. Means that there had been competition for resources. In competition, there are how many types of competition? According to Darwin, we have three types of competition. First competition is environmental competition. Environmental means they can adapt in environment, so they can survive. If not adapt, they are eliminated. Second means struggle for different we can say calamities. Okay. Second thing is inter-specific struggle. Inter-specific struggle means struggle between two species. As for example, today what we use? We use pesticides. We want to kill the pests, and they want to survive, right? So here what happens? We want to kill the pest. Why? To get the food, and they want to survive. So there what happens? Here inter-specific struggle. So they are struggling with us. That is called inter-specific struggling. Intra-specific. Third one is intra-specific struggle. Intra-specific means when the struggle is present in between the same species individual, right? So this same species individual means they may be for mating, they may be for food, they may be for habitat, or that is called intraspecific struggle. An example simply we can say here for in a border what happens sometimes was war means for land or other things, war between or battle between two countries. Why? For land or for some other things, right? So that's why in war what happens? Man kills man. That is called intraspecific within the same species. So three types of struggle. It is called, Darwin said them, struggle for existence. That is given here. What is given? That there have been competition for resources. Competition means struggle for existence, right? Only some survived and grew at the cost of others. Who survived? Who killed the other? They survived. That could not flourish. The novelty and brilliant insight of Darwin was this. He asserted that variation which are inheritable and which makes resource utilization better for few. Few means who adapted to habitat better, right? Will enable only and those to reproduce and leave more progeny. They survive, means this species survive for more days, right? Hence, for a period of time over many generations, survivors will leave more progeny and there would be a change in population characteristics and hence new forms appear to arise, and when new forms appear to arise, a new species is formed. That is called Darwinism. When we see the Darwinism, according to Darwinism, so like Lamarck had 4 principles. Darwin has also how many principles? 5 principles. So 5 is what? First is overpopulation. Overpopulation means what? We can say exponential growth. Overpopulation, because we know is means seed. Actually, it is means we can say that a union, right? If we consider the union means it can means how many offspring it can produce in 1 year? More than 3 crore offspring. You can say overpopulation. 3 in 1 year. Next year means what happened? These 3 crore becomes 6 crore. Not 6 crore, but 3 crore multiplied by 3 crores. So much exponential. After some time, what happens? If they means inherit like exponentially, they grow in exponentially form. Then what happens after some time? This time, all the oceans they will be full of union, but that not happens. Why? Due to the limited resources. So first thing is overproduction or production, or we can say production is what? Multiplication or reproduction. Second, what is there? Struggle for existence, which is given here. Struggle for existence. Why? Stringence, competition. That is called competition, right? So struggle, I tell you 3 types of struggle. That is environmental struggle, interspecific and intraspecific. Environmental means between environment and that is organisms. Second is interspecific means between 2 species, 2 different groups, and third one is our intraspecific within a single species, between 2 individuals within a population, we can say. Third is here variation and heredity. That is also given. Variation and heredity, that is survivors reproduce, leave more progeny, right? Here this asserted that variation, right? So variation here, so variation and heredity. So they means variation means what happens? They have some variation, or we can say these are traits, right, which are adapted or which are selected by nature. So through these variations, they reproduce more progeny, or we can say they are selected by the nature, or we can say they prove themselves fittest, right, over other. So third one is variation. Fourth one is natural selection. If they have variation, so what happens? They will enable only those reproduce and leave more progeny which make the resource utilization better for few, not for all. For few, will enable only those to reproduce and leave more progeny. That means what? They are naturally selected. More progeny means naturally selected. They are fittest. They are naturally selected. They are selected by the nature. That is called natural selection or survival of the fittest. And last one is what is given? There would be a change in population characteristics and hence a new form appear, and this one is called new species, formation of new species, right? Or origin of new species. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, right? 6 we can say, right? These are the mainly 5, it is not 6. It is competition, variation, and its leave more progeny. Okay, this leave more progeny means what? It is, okay, this one is it. 5 means what? This is the first. First means what? It is exponential growth means overproduction. Second is what is given here? Competition means struggle for existence. Third, what is given? Variation. Variation. It is given variation. Variation means what? Variation, and this variation is inherited into the new spring. So variation and hereditary. And then after leave more progeny, they are natural selected or survival of the fittest. And last one, these two or this one, right? So these two represent the origin of species. So these are the 5 principles or 5 steps according to Darwin, which is given here, right? I think you understand. Now next point is our mechanism of evolution. How evolution occurs. What is the mechanism of evolution here? What is the origin of this variation and how does speciation occur? This variation and how does speciation occur? That is the question. Even though Mendel had talked of inheritable, that is Mendel used factor word, right? Today we know these genes influencing phenotype. Darwin either ignored these observations because we know Mendel means it is Darwin wrote his book in 1953. In 1853. Darwin wrote his book in which year? 1859. Right here, so that you understand. Darwin. What is the name of the book of Darwin? It is Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. A species by means of natural selection. This is the name of the book of Darwin, right? This book is published in 1859, and you know very well because this is the time when it is near the time when Mendel also published his book. Mendel published a book after 10 years, okay, not a problem, but it is the time when Mendel doing his experiments, historical experiments, right? 7-year experiments. Okay, so this is the time. So that is given here. Or kept silence. Darwin either ignored these observations or kept silence. In the first decade of 20th century, 20th means 1901 to 1910, Hugo de Vries, based on his work on evening prime rose. Hugo de Vries is also called as father of mutational theory, right? Hugo de Vries, he gave the concept of mutation, brought forth the idea of mutation. Mutation means sudden changes, right, in genetic material, large differences arising suddenly in a population. He said, large differences, sudden arising. Sudden means this difference is not present in parents, but suddenly it comes into the offspring. He believed that it is mutation which causes evolution. According to Hugo de Vries, he said this gradual accumulation is not responsible for evolution, but mutation is responsible for mutation which causes the evolution and not the minor variation. Minor variation is, who said the minor variation? Darwin said. These minor variation, they come into the new offspring and they accumulate, and after million of years, right, in we can say after million of generation, then what happens? When this accumulation it becomes more and more, then what happens? They form a new species. But that is our Hugo de Vries, he said, not the minor variation heritable that Darwin talked about, but mutations are random. Today we know mutations are random and they are directionless, while Darwinian variations are small and they are directional because they are accumulate. Then now we understand which type of traits are accumulate. New spring will come with which trait, but in mutation, because they are sudden changes, either deletion or insert. Already we read different type of mutation in our previous chapters, right? You understand that mutation, they are directionless and they are random, right? So they come into the sudden. sudden changes, and these changes they are inherited in new offspring also. Evolution for Darwin was gradual, while De Vries believed mutation caused speciation, and hence it is called saltation. Single step, large mutation. Saltation means what? Single step, large mutation. Studies in population genetics later brought out some clarity. So already we genetics, when we read the genetics, then we understand how mutation comes, and what are the different types of mutations are there, and how they affect the phenotype. Here you understand? I think you understand, right? Now next point, Hardy-Weinberg principle. Hardy-Weinberg, new scientist come, and he gave a principle, he gave a equation, right? He said that always the total number of alleles are constant, right? Simply what he given, in a given population, one can find out the frequency of occurrence of alleles. Allele means we know what is allele. Now first question is what is allele? How do you define the allele? Allele means they are the specific genes which are located on the same loci of homologous chromosome. So they are located at the same loci means what? Location of the homologous chromosome. And homologous chromosome, I know you know better that first chromosome of mother, first chromosome of father, they are called as homologous chromosome, right? That is given. The frequency of occurrence of alleles of a gene or a locus means location, same. This frequency is supposed to remain fixed and even remain in the same through generation. They are fixed, they are same, and even they remain the same. That is constant. Hardy-Weinberg principle stated it using algebraic equation. What is the algebraic equation? What is the Hardy-Weinberg equation? It is also given here. Well, we will read this one. What is the equation? It is p square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. Is equal to 1 means what? Constant. Right? If it is constant, that means no evolution. But if it is disturbed, when it disturbed, means there is some evolution going on. Some evolution is going on. Some is what? Some new allele comes, some new allele gone. That is good. Okay, we will read this one. This principle says that allele frequency in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation. Right? As far is equal to 1. The gene pool means total genes. That is total gene and their allele in a population. Total genes and their alleles in a population is called gene pool. Right? In a population remains a constant. A constant means always is equal to 1. And this is called genetic equilibrium. Genetic equilibrium means there is no evolution. Right? Sum total of all allelic frequency is 1. What is given here? 1. 1. Do you understand? 1 means what? Constant. That individuals frequencies, for example, can be named as PQ, right? PQ, this one, PQ. In a diploid, P and Q represents the frequency of allele capital A means dominant A and allele small a, that is recessive A. The frequency of AA, pure dominant, homozygous individual in a population is simply P square. Simply AA means what? P square. It is represented by P square. This is simply stated in another ways. That means probability or possibility that allele A with a frequency of P, right, on both the chromosomes of diploid individual is simply to the product of the probabilities. That means it is P square, maybe it is P square. Similarly for A recessive trait, it is Q square, or they may be heterozygous. These two are homozygous, they may be heterozygous, that is 2pq. Hence the P square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. That is the Hardy-Weinberg equation. P square plus 2pq plus q square is equal to 1. right? This is binomial expansion of P plus Q square, mathematical that. When frequencies measured differ from expected values, that means the difference direction indicates, difference means it is the direction which indicates, right, the extent of evolutionary change. That means there is some evolution is going on. Right? Disturbance in genetic equilibrium when it is not equal to 1, then, or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, that is change of frequency of alleles in a population, would then be interrupted as resulting in evolution. When we did not find equal to 1, then what happens? Evolution is there. Simply you can understand, if it is given, suppose that A represents 0.6, then you understand what are the frequency of other offsprings. Other means small a. What is the frequency of small a, or what is the frequency of heterozygous? Heterozygous means capital A, small a in the specific population in which capital A is 0.6. Simply you have to sim this same. You have to use this p square plus 2pq, p square plus 2pq plus q square, right, is equal to 1. If no evolution is there, then it is there. You can find out p square means what is given? 0.6. That means a means what? Simply when you calculate this one, you understand it becomes, because it is 0.6, then at that means a is a square means it is 0.6. It becomes 0.6 square. It becomes 0.4 square. That means what happens here? It is 2 multiplied by 0.24, right, is equal to 1. Now you understand it is 36, right? 0.36 plus 0.48 plus 0.16 is equal to 1. That means what? What is the frequency? Frequency of capital A is 0.36, frequency of heterozygous is 0.48, and frequency of recessive traits, it is 0.16. Or we can say how many, if population is 100, means in a population in which 100 people are there, then we understand 36 people are homozygous A, capital A, 48 people are heterozygous capital A, small a, and 16 people are there in which small a, G's are abnormal, and total 100. Okay, so that is the means through this equation we can calculate the frequency of specific heterozygous or homozygous offsprings. Now here 5 factors. Look here, if frequency is equal to 1, then no evolution is there. But if frequency is equal to more than or less than 1, that means one directional evolution is going on. Why I am saying directional? Because at that time we know which allele is going more, means which allele frequency is more, right? So which allele frequency is more means direction is toward the specific allele which is more in this equation. 5 factors are known to affect the Hardy-Weinberg. 5 factors are known the effect of Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, and these are gene migration or gene flow, genetic drift. What is there? First, gene migration or gene flow. Gene migration is what? Suppose that a population is there, some people or some individuals of this population, they migrate from that place and go and isolated from to a specific area, isolated area. They move there. Now this isolated area, they reproduce there and multiply there and forms a new population at that specific place. They have some adaptation, they have some variation, and after some time what happens? They are evolved into a new species. Now these are this one. So that means what? Okay, this one is called, we can say this new population. That is a founder effect, we can say genetic drift. It is a type of genetic drift. When people are isolated in a specific area and they form a new species or new population is formed, then it is called a genetic drift. And this effect is called founder's effect. Founder's effect. But first I tell you here genetic drift, then after gene migration is there. Right? Second genetic drift is there. It is called bottleneck effect. So bottleneck effect means what? It is sudden changes. Right? Sudden changes, sudden shiftness in population, sudden changes in allele, what happens during some calamities? Suppose that forest fire is there. The maximum alleles they are lost. This population, maximum individuals they are lost. What happens? Some genes or some alleles they are totally lost, right? So this one is called sudden change. It is called genetic drift, and this effect is called bottleneck effect. Due to flood, due to sometime what happens which we can say endemics are there, epidemics are there, or forest fire are there, right? Earthquake or flood. In this way, what happens? Maximum individuals they are dead, they are killed. So this one is called bottleneck effect. And when what I tell, some population means some individuals go and form a new population, isolated population, a new species is formed, or new population is formed. That one is called founder effect. These two are example of genetic drift. And one is there here migration. What is the meaning of migration? Means here some people come from England or some from USA. They come here and settle down. And this continuously going on many times. They come and they migrate. So genes means people come means their alleles are also coming, and they are coming and they come and these alleles are added into the new population, and from the old population they are lost, right? So this flow of gene, a flow of people, a flow of coming people, movement, it is called gene migration or gene flow. That is given. Genetic drift, I'll tell you two types of genetic drift. That is bottleneck effect, sudden change, bottleneck effect, and second one is our founder effect. Mutation, due to mutation you already know mutation means due to the mutations, genes they mutate. So this some mutation, what happens? If deletion is there, so some alleles are lost. If insertion means some alleles are added, frequency of alleles are added. Genetic recombination, in sexual reproduction we know genetic recombination means what happens? Variation comes through genetic recombination, right? Through genetic recombination what happens? That alleles, the probability of allele also disturbed, right? And natural selection. Finally, natural selection. 5 things are given here. What is gene migration or gene flow? Second, genetic drift. Third, mutation. Fourth, recombination. And fifth, natural selection, which affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, right? When migration of a section of population to another place and population occurs, gene frequencies change in the original as well as in the new population. Why gene frequencies change? Because this population means the migration of section of population. Population means if some individual migrate from one place to another place, old population what happens? These peoples they have some alleles, they have some genes. These genes are lost from the that original population, and when they come and mix with other population, so this new population, these alleles or these genes they are added into the new population, right? New genes or alleles are added to the new population that is given here, and these are lost from the old population. Simply that I tell you, there would be a gene flow in this if the gene is migration happening multiple times. That is called gene flow. There would be gene flow when it is called gene flow, not one time only. But if this gene migration happens multiple times they come and settle here, then what happens? A gene flow is there. Simply when we consider the example, some Indians they go to USA and then settle there, right? Now what happens? They settle there means what? Not only one time, continuously Indians are going on. This time also they go and want to settle there. That is called gene flow, right? If the same change occurs by chance, now it is given by chance, that is important. By chance. So by chance means it is called genetic drift. Same change occurs by chance, that is called genetic drift, right? The genetic drift, I tell you, it is two times. Sometimes the change in allele frequency is so different in the new sample of population that they become a different species in that isolated area. That is called founder effect. The original drifted population, right? They become the founder, and the effect is called founder effect. And the effect is called founder effect, because the original drifted population who drift means who migrate and isolate a specific area, and there they develop a new population with some varieties or some variation, and they are totally different from the original population. Then this one is called, this new population, it is called genetic drift. And one important thing is there, genetic drift always occurs in small population, right? Now microbial, next point. Microbial experiment shows that pre-existing mutation when selected will result in observation of new phenotypes. Right? That pre-existing advantageous mutation when selected, right? When it is selected means when it is selected by nature will result in observation of new phenotypes. So they can be seen in new generation. Phenotypes means which we can see, right? Over few generation, this would result in speciation. Over few generation, after few generation, this would result in speciation. What is my speciation? Speciation means species, formation of origin of species, right? Natural selection is a process in which heritable variation enabling better survival, already we read according to Darwin, are enabled to reproduce reproductive fitness and leave greater number of progeny according to Darwin. These are called fittest. Fittest means fittest of the survival means who reproduce more offspring, simply. According to Darwin, a critical analysis makes us believe that variation due to mutation, according to Hugo de Vries, or variation due to recombination during gametogenesis, according to Darwin, or due to gene flow or genetic drift, Hardy-Weinberg, result in change frequency of genes and alleles in future generation. Result in change the frequencies of genes means they disturb the Hardy-Weinberg equation, right? Coupled to enhance reproductive success, natural selection makes it look like different population, right? Through recombination, what happens? Simply Darwin said, or this Hardy-Weinberg means rule said, or it is mutation. Is new variation come into the new offspring, and after some time, what happens? They become so different that we can consider them a new species, or we can say them then it is a origin of new species, right? Look like different. Natural selection can lead to stabilization. Stabilization is stable structure in which more individuals acquire mean character value. So something stabilization means in which more individuals acquired mean character value. Mean means what? Average. Same. That means there is no evolution, right? Second, directional changes. Directional means if more individuals acquired value other than the mean character value. So they may be one direction or another direction. If figure is given, we will read this one. Or disruption. If more individuals acquire peripheral character value at both ends of the distribution curve, right? This one is called disruptive, and this figure is given here, and through this figure you can easily understand this figure, right? And here you understand. Look, that is a number of individual with phenotype. So phenotype favored. Look here, this is the phenotype in between this one, right? So what happens? This is the medium size individuals are favored. That means there is no direction. It is a constant. It is stable, right? Second, 3 types of evolution is there. What happens here? First, in this you understand, peak get higher and narrower. That means what happens? This medium size individuals are favored. So that what happens? This peak get higher. This one is called stabilization. Stable evolution. Second, what is given here? Peak high shifted in one direction. Now what happens? These medium size individuals are here, but here medium size is not in between, but it moves toward the one direction. Now you can understand it is in between, but here what happens? It is not in between. It is movement. Means there what happens? The characteristics which is present at that place, we can say at that place it become medium. So peak shifted means what happens? Now this peak which is present here, it moves to, that means this gapping is there. This gapping is there. Now here our hill is this one. This is direction, right? Second, 2 peaks form. 2 peaks means when it is not from one but on both sides is there, then it forms 2 peaks. Like suppose that this one is more. Suppose that this state is developed, then we get this one direction. If this state is developed, then we get this direction, this direction, right? And when both are present, then we have a this type is called disruptive method, and this one is disruptive method as it is given here on both sides. Diagrammatic representation of operation of natural selection on different traits. Stabilization means mean, average, right? Second, directional, only one-sided movement means only one-sided. We can say only one trait is becomes developed. Second, disruptive means more than one traits on both sides develop. Then what happens? A disruptive hill is formed.